I had to choose one city to describe the history of the United States, I would choose Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Pittsburgh in the early 1900s was the Silicon Valley of the United States.
It's been an industrial community and then existed for probably 200 plus years until such time as the probably 70s when the world changed.
But what people maybe don't understand is this has been about 40 years in the making. But what you feel here is this electric energy, this momentum. And I have to say, right, Carnegie Mellon University did a really unique thing back in the late 70s by starting their robotics institute. And then in the 80s released the world's first robotics PhD program. They made some really risky bets doing that.
I'm starting to see, particularly over the last 5 years, a city that's being reborn. And I think what a lot of the well-meaning people did in this community is they kept looking around as the city was in decline and saying, we should be like Boston, or we should be like Austin, or pick your city. I think eventually people gave up on that idea and said, we should be more like who we are. Pittsburgh ain't like any place in the world. It's authentic. It is what it is.
Pittsburgh is a very much blue-collar city, and we're proud of our manufacturing base and where we came from.
Pittsburgh has a substance to it. Startups are building things that solve real problems, and of course that's going on in every ecosystem, but that seems to be the driver for so many of our peers in the community here.
For the small manufacturer, they can come to us and talk about their problem, and we can more or less try to duplicate it here in our lab. We've been able to show them what's possible. They can start to build out a bill of materials. They can start to understand what their workforce issues are going to be. I'm going to need to have people that can do certain things in order to be able to do this. We've also given people enough information that they realized that they couldn't do it. Took the risk out.
It's market driven. It's customer driven. So you get to learn a customer's problem before you actually start designing the solution. And what that does is that helps ensure product market fit from the very beginning.
Just imagine you have a backyard, and across the alleyway, you have this really wild neighbor. And this neighbor's like a mad scientist, and they have like a seed splicing factory in their backyard, and they're just trying to like make all kinds of seeds to plant all kinds of crazy things. Well, just as, things germinate or whatever, the wind blows, and what's landed in your backyard over time are all of these wild things growing, but also traditional things. You could just let it ride, right? But like what you actually have in your backyard is something that naturally would be quite difficult to curate and cultivate with intention. But now that's what Pittsburgh has. We have this amazing garden just filled with these amazing fruits that we're now bearing. But it needs a gardener. We cultivate with intention what was already here, not because we put it here, but because it grew here. But now it's time to take it to that next level. We don't make robots. We don't sell robots. We're not in that business. We're in the business of the companies and the people who are doing that. And so our job is to collect data from them, to sit down with them, to listen to what their needs are, and also to tell the world what's happening here.
It's always been about the industry. What do you mean by that?
It's about manufacturing. It's always been a passion to try to return manufacturing to the United States, make it a better place for the next generation.
In 2021 was a massive transformation. This place was completely cleaned, updated, upgraded, and then we basically gutted everything that was in here and put inside the new brewery and the bottling line that you see today.
This place also feels like an old school brewery in a lot of ways, despite being wildly new.
Yeah, and that's the cool feel of this place. Similar construction, brick, steel beams, and then we just put the modern brewery inside of it.
That's Pittsburgh.
I think it's just really important that you stop being obsessed with the technology. At the end of the day, these are tools. And if nobody's using them or nobody needs them at scale, then perhaps you need to rethink the tooling. And that's what commercialization is all about. Rather than being inspired by the technology, be inspired by the problem that it's solving.
You need a PhD in a problem. You can get by with an associate's degree in a solution.
Everyone wants to help. People want to help you, you just have to be willing to ask. So I think the number one thing to do is be willing to ask, be willing to let people know what your problems are, and be willing to share help with people when they come to you.